me begin by introducing myself. My name is Tessa Rixon. I'm a senior lecturer at the Queensland University of Technology. I'm also the chair of ScenoLab Australia. And so I want to begin first by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land. For myself, I'm joining you from Brisbane, so it's the Jagqui and Turrbal people. And I encourage those in the chats to include or to let us know where you're joining us from and the traditional owners of those lands as well. So in the spirit of reconciliation, ScenoLab Australia acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. We recognise sovereignty has never been ceded. It always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So let me just stop sharing there for you and bring you to our full guests for today. So it's my pleasure today to welcome you to this World Stage Design 2025 information session. So ScenoLab Australia is a community hub, volunteer organisation that was started last year to create a space and a place for community for Australian performance design educators, researchers and practitioners. We are also the National Centre for OISTAT, the international organisation of scenographers, theatre architects and technicians. Now, OISTAT is the co-organiser of World Stage Design, and this year in 2025, they're co-organising with the Sharjah Performing Arts Academy and the wonderful Jacqui George, who we have with us today. So as the National OISTAT Centre, it's our aim to encourage Australian involvement with World Stage Design this year, and so we wanted to host this talk as well as a series of other talks we'll have throughout the year. But enough from me. I'll be putting a little bit more information about ScenoLab in the chat if you're new to us. And for now, I'm going to throw over to my wonderful colleague, Imogen Ross, to kick us off and introduce our guest speaker for today. Thanks, Imogen.
Thank you so much, Tessa. What a great introduction. And can I follow up the acknowledgement of country? We invite all participants to share where they're coming from today in the chat if they would like to. I am coming to you from Darawal country today, the land of the cabbage palm tree, and I am an eco-scenographer and academic working on the lands of the Darawal. I have also the great pleasure of working at NIDA as their sustainability manager, which is on the lands of the Darawal and the Darug, the Gadigal and the Bidjigal peoples. I steer NIDA Green, which is NIDA's sustainability plan towards net zero. I am also a co-founder of ScenoLab in Australia. So it gives me great pleasure to wear multiple hats in the room. Jacqui George, our guest speaker today, has been working in stage and production management for the last 25 years, with a major focus on conservatoire and performing arts academy training. She has taught at several conservatoires and is a Master of Education and a Senior Fellow of the Higher Education Academy. Jacqui joined the senior leadership team of SPA, the Sharjah Performing Arts Academy, in 2018 to design and implement a conservatoire performing and production arts undergraduate training, which was the first of its kind in the Middle East and North Africa region. Jacqui has worked with professional companies across the UK. She's toured extensively. She's produced repertory seasons at the West End. Internationally, she's worked in Shanghai, Berlin, Greece on various festivals and world expos. She also produces work with her and her husband's company, We Made This. She's also one half of Stand By Please, the stage management podcast that many of you will know of. And she has a book waiting to be published by Routledge in September called The Art of Collaboration. I honestly don't know how she has time to run World Stage Design 2025. So with no further ado, Jacqui, welcome to the ScenoLab Australian webinar. And just to introduce us to World Stage Design and yourself, could you tell us a little bit about your professional background and how this has led to your involvement with World Stage Design?
Thank you, Imogen, and thank you, Tessa, for a lovely introduction. It's great to be here and to be able to talk with you all. Certainly. So as you mentioned, I was part of the senior leadership team at the Performing Arts Academy, and I started there in 2018. As part of that, one of our first steps was we became members of OISTAT as a centre, as Tessa just described, ScenoLab is for Australia. And at the time, they put out a call for applications to co-produce World Stage Design 2025 with them. And I'd had an experience of visiting World Stage Design when it was hosted in Cardiff in 2013, and knew some of the organising team there and knew it as an attendee. And certainly as part of the longer term plan of the Academy to introduce the work that was happening there to the wider global community, I took it to our executive director, Peter Barlow, and said, what do you think? Should we apply? Really aware, actually, that we were very young, very much in our infancy. And then with the green light from him, spoke to various people who were members of OISTAT, who were active members, who had also attended World Stage Designs, and talked to them about what they thought of our interest and our expression of interest. With sort of green lights from everyone, we put together an initial proposal, submitted that, and then went on to the next stage with OISTAT to present what World Stage Design in Sharjah could look like. And we were really very happy then when we were awarded that in 2021. During that time, as careers and professional lives do, I decided to take a sideward step and to move away from my senior leadership position at the Academy to take on other work. And we could talk a little bit more about that later. But what we discussed at the time was that I would love to, and Peter was very much keen on me staying on to be part of that team that delivered World Stage Design. So it's been a bit of a juggle, but very lovely juggle, a very fortunate juggle to have in terms of still connected very much to SPA, and always will be. It's got a special place for me and everyone actually who comes into contact with it, but also deliver World Stage for them whilst doing other parts of my work as well. So that's how I came to be involved with it, and how it's a brief explanation of how it ended up at SPA, with me project directing it.
Right. So at the moment, Jacqui, it sounds like you've stepped sideways from SPA. You're now the project director of World Stage Design, but obviously very linked in with the Sharjah Performing Arts Academy. And I note from some of our previous conversations that the Sharjah Performing Arts Academy is very involved in World Stage Design as host.
Yes, that's right. So every part of the planning that I'm looking at, we're looking at ways to integrate faculty and students, and past and present. So we now have a small cohort of graduates. This just happened, our third graduate graduation has just happened. So trying to embed every part of SPA life and community into the event as well, because we'll talk again, this will come up I'm sure later, but that's how we make World Stage Design 2025 very responsive to where it is, and which OISTAT are super keen and super supportive of, is that every edition of World Stage Design is unique to where it's being hosted, because that's the beauty of the event.
Yes, and I definitely want to hear a little bit more about that further on. But I believe you have a short visual presentation for us about World Stage Design that you have been sharing internationally. And I would love you to share that with us now. And in response to the presentation, I invite our audience to think about any questions that they might have for Jacqui, and either put them into the chat, or we will ask for questions at the end of the presentation, which I believes goes for around 7 to 10 minutes.
Great, happy to. Fabulous. You should all hopefully be able to see my screen now. Hey, so let's start off with when it is. It's later this year, 18th to the 25th of October. That was part of the planning to decide when in the year that World Stage Design would take place. That's very much open to the host organisation to decide. And we were keen, in order to show the local area, the local performance work that's happening or could happen outside, we knew it had to be in our winter time, which I remember when I moved to Sharjah in 2018, that it was September and it was still very hot. And I said to a colleague who had been living there quite a bit longer, when does it cool down? When does winter start? And he specifically said to me, October the 15th, with very much determination. I was like, wow, that specifically said yes. And sure enough, October the 15th, and temperatures started to drop significantly. So that's one of the reasons why we went for that part of the year, so in order that we can share some outside work and activity with everybody. I think it's fair to say, and we're seeing that globally now as well, that those summers are getting longer and the winters are getting shorter. So it does stay a little bit warmer for longer now, but it's a good time of year. It's a beautiful time of year within the UAE. I'm going to share with you now a short 2-minute video just to introduce, for those of you who don't know much about Sharjah. I remember people often say, Sharjah, where is that? And you sort of say the UAE, and then the sort of default answer becomes, oh, it's next to Dubai. And I think everyone has understandings and perceptions and images of what Dubai is. Sharjah is very different, which we'll talk about and how that's reflected in the event after. But I thought I'd share with you a 2-minute video on what Sharjah could look like for visitors. So I guess that's a very glamour sort of tourist video, as I'm sure you can see, but I think what it shows for me, it tells you a little bit about the diversity of Sharjah. So 7 emirates in the UAE. Sharjah is the 3rd largest emirate, with Dubai and Abu Dhabi being the first 2. Abu Dhabi, we know, is the capital of the 7 emirates that came together in the 1970s. Dubai, we know, we recognise as being the tourist hub, the tourist sort of hotspot, very for advanced thinking, future thinking in terms of development, tall towers, etc. Sharjah is completely opposite, even though when I fly in and out of Sharjah, I fly into Dubai airport, and that's about 10 minutes from my home. So they're very close together. But Sharjah is focused on, it's known as the cultural emirate, and it has a massive focus on education and on the arts. So when we took the idea to apply to host World Stage Design, His Highness Sheikh Kazemi, who is the sort of driving force behind this education and arts development and establishment within the Emirate, was super keen and super supportive. There's lots of different events that happen throughout the Emirate over the year that's focused and geared towards that. Sharjah is the only emirate that covers both coastlines of the UAE. So we go from the Gulf in the north over to the Indian Ocean in the south. And it goes from desert to mountain to cityscape. So you couldn't really have a more diverse emirate to host it in. And you see that reflected in the work that's happening there and the people that live there also. So that's just a little bit about Sharjah. We have a small but fabulous team making it happen on the ground. And I think the team is really reflective of the community that's in Sharjah. So we have Wafa there, who's our jury coordinator. We have Ansi, who is our marketing and comms fabulous person, who's also a creative person in the terms of she's a dancer with disabilities herself, so is very much focused on driving the access around World Stage Design. We have Ambika, who is our ScenoFest producer, and then we also have on the right, we have this brilliant, much to start it with our advisory boards who are there on the right-hand side, who are this brilliant global representation of artists and practitioners. And then that drives that all the way through the different juries, the different programming teams, the different staff teams that make it happen. So we have Dr. Khalifa, who's a scenographer from Kuwait, who's very excited to see it happen in the MENA region. We have Aris there from Mexico, another eco-scenographer. We have Dr. Marina, who's from Cyprus and is part of the Department for Theatre in Paphos. We have Lena, top right, who is an amazing designer. She lives in Dubai now and practices out there. She's a Lebanese Palestinian trained in New York. We have Amin from Morocco, and we have Jay from the Philippines. So these are some of our key amazing figures that's making the work happen on the ground. Let me just jump to the next slide. There's for those of you not familiar with World Stage Design, there's four main elements, and we'll talk through those briefly here. So we have the main design exhibition, which will be happening at the Academy. And then we have two other competitions. The main exhibition is now closed, and those top 100 finalists have been announced. Those will be exhibited in the building. We also have the theatre architecture competition, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a second. That again has just been announced as the shortlist. We have the Technical Invention Prize, which is still open. It's open until July the 15th, and that will be exhibited up at the Sharjah Research and Technology Park. And then the fourth part, which is where most of the, maybe it's like the festival element of the event. So it's where all of our masterclasses, performances, workshops, panel discussions happen within the ScenoFest programme. And as I said, it happens over 8 days, 18th to the 25th of October. We start at 9:30 in the morning and we finish at 9:30 in the evening. We have a programme in ScenoFest of over, I think it's reaching about 105 different scheduled activities, sessions happening. I promised our ScenoFest producer we won't be adding any more, because every time somebody comes and says, oh, I have this idea, and I go, oh, okay. And she's like, the programme's full. So it's very packed and something there for everyone. And we'll be sharing more of that publicly over the next couple of months as we get nearer to the date of what particular pathways or tracks could look like for different practitioners, whether you're costume discipline, whether you're more set or video inclined, for example, or whether you're just a all-round theatre enthusiast and professional and want to get involved. The reason why I showed you the Sharjah video was because it's not just happening at the Academy. If we were going to show really what Sharjah is about, we had to spread our events and activities across the Emirates, which does make it a little more tricky in terms of planning and logistics, making sure all of our participants and attendees can get around. But I think it'll reflect in the true flavour of what the Emirate has to offer. So the centre picture is the main entrance of the Academy, and that's where the exhibition and the majority of ScenoFest will take place. Bottom right is the Sharjah Research and Technology Park, which is where the Technical Invention Prize will happen, be exhibited, and we'll also have some ScenoFest talks happening up there. The Performing Arts Academy and the Research Park are in an area of Sharjah known as University City. It's about, I think it's about 15 kilometres square with different universities from across the globe. So it's a real higher education hub. The architecture competition is in an area called the Heart of Sharjah, which is where the original Sharjah started from, and that's in a heritage house called Beit al Shamsi, which is the house of the merchant Shamsi. And then, for example, bottom, the desert picture, which is out in Maliha, which is one of our archaeological sites in Sharjah. We have some performance work happening there as well, a piece called Transcendent Renaissance from a Romanian artist called Kalin Topper. So we want to get everyone, if you come into Sharjah, we have to get you out to the desert to see some of that beautiful landscape as well. These are just an idea about how the exhibition plans are shaping up. So we're sort of maximising every corner and every space. We'll talk I'll mention it now, in that part of our mission is to make sure that everything we do, we try and do as sustainable as possible. And echoing Paddy and Lisa, who have produced the Fit Green book, that we can't be perfect, but anything we can do, we're going to make sure we can make happen. So we're working with a sustainable exhibition designer and material called B Matrix from Belgium, which is a reusable exhibition stand. So one of the main problems in exhibitions and conferences, we see this huge wealth of things that are sent to landfill post-event. So this is very much I describe it to people as a Meccano for adults. Our submission platform, which is just open now for the Technical Invention Prize, looks like this. So we were using a platform called Award Force. It's bilingual, so people can apply in Arabic or English. And it's hopefully, I like to think it's a really user-friendly way to enter the competition, the one that's still open. And then we come on to our mission. And I know maybe we'll talk a little bit more about how we landed upon this mission after this. But the heritage, I'll read it first and then try and unpack it slightly for you. The heritage of our region we hold with pride. We embrace the stories, we enjoy the creative, and we respect the history. Sharjah World Stage Design at SPA is where we explore our next heritage while celebrating our past. Tomorrow's heritage is today's exploration. We create this heritage with our neighbours as a global community. And everything we do, we know that is dependent on our environment. So without it, there is no need to create. At World Stage Design, everything we do, we consider our impact, how it can be reduced. Is it minimal? Is there an alternative? And we ask you to join us to do the same. As I mentioned, the UAE is a country that's 54 years old. It was developed as a nation of 7 emirates in the 70s. Before that, it was the Trucial States. The speed of change within all of the emirates is vast. And for example, Sharjah in the 80s didn't have mains power. And you go online and you read all this information. And certainly when I was moving there in 2018, I was like, oh, okay, where am I moving to? But the pace of change is phenomenal. And I think we have to credit that to the country in terms of they're navigating at an immense speed of change, whilst also trying to respect and represent and build into that development of change what their heritage and what their culture is. So it's trying to maintain that culture and those traditions, whilst also this huge speed of development, not to just to keep up with the Joneses, as we say, or to be, keep up with papers, what's happening in the rest of the world, but also to be the front runners and the front leaders. And certainly with the student who we see enter the academy, and also the other students around the rest of the higher education and graduates we see working in the country, I have huge respect and admiration for the way they navigate it, because they can quite easily go from their cultural homestead, their home places, know the traditions that they enjoy and celebrate with their families, whilst also going to the mall and seeing every sort of brand or watching everything on Netflix or being aware of what's happening in terms of current technologies. So I think they do it with ease, and I think that was how we got to our mission statement. So it's about knowing what we can do to develop what we practice, wherever that may be, and in this context, theatre design and performance design, but also acknowledging and respecting and celebrating where we've come from. Imogen, am I being really awful on time? I can speed up. You're on mute, sorry.
Yes, I would. Thank you so much, Jacqui. I would speed up a little bit just so that we
Right.
have time for our audience to ask you questions. I know that there are probably some questions in the room.
No problem. No problem. So we're going to
This
jump
is
to ScenoLab.
fascinating. I just have to say what you're telling us is fascinating, and you're actually answering many of the questions that I had specifically for you. So I've just sort of
No problem.
back because you're answering them without me asking them.
No problem. The ScenoFest programme is hugely diverse. There's work from across the globe. So just this piece here, we have work from the UAE, we have work from the UK, which is this Afro-Bhangra fusion, which has got a third element where we put it in some results from the UAE. The water side from Nigeria. We have a lamb, which is from Sana Akram, an artist based in Pakistan. Painkiller from Hungary, Transcendent from Bucharest, but with a global team as well. That full program is on our website as well, so you can go in there and see the sort of breakdowns. This is where the architecture competition is happening in the heart of Sharjah. We believe Shamsi was a pearl merchant. Right now, the city is sort of, which was what Sharjah was originally. It was a pearl diving harbour, that's where it started from, and also date farms. So it's pearl farming or date farms originally for Sharjah. But this is where we're designing the performance space for, and the exhibition will happen here. And we'll also have some ScenoFest performances here. And just as an area of the city, it's an amazing place to go. You can see it fully there. This is the research park, which is up in University City. So a lot of our technology ScenoFest programming and the Invention Prize will be here, a short bus ride from the Academy. We'll have shuttle buses on every day doing loops of the city, so to get everyone everywhere. Let's talk a little bit about how we're trying to embed sustainability into everything we do. So we've got initiatives of how we as an event are sustainable. We've got initiatives as to how to support practitioners be sustainable, and then also other third-party organisations as well. So we were given the license to do the first Arabic translation of the Theatre Green Book, currently translated into 10 languages, but not Arabic. So we've completed on that work, and we're excited to launch that at the event. And I know Imogen and I have had conversations where we have the Arabic translation, which is great, and that's really accessible for people working in the region, but also how we work in the region is how we work in theatre sustainably in the region is different to how we work in Australia or in the US or in the UK or in other parts of Europe. So how we do that with that approach. We're working with Gumbuk, who's a social enterprise based here, and we're committing to everybody that buys a Voyager pass for the event. We will plant a mangrove, which, as we know, are amazing carbon offsetters. We took a group of 50 students out to the mangroves last October, a year before the event, and planted 50 as the start of our commitment, because recognise that we're asking people to travel to the event, which has its own impact, but what can we do to minimise that? How to get involved. So this is our registration page. We hopefully have made it as accessible for everyone. As OISTAT members, and if you are part of ScenoLab, then you are an OISTAT member by association. You get a discount code, which you should have received from the office. So that comes on the Voyager Pass. So it's 250 dirhams for the 8 days for full access. So all performances, all workshops. So what's that in dollars? It's like £50 sterling. Sorry on my consent.
It's not very much. I know that one of my colleagues purchased the ticket about 2 months ago and was really amazed at how reasonable it was. I think it's under $150.
Brilliant. So yeah, we wanted to make sure that that wasn't a barrier for people to actually come. And then locally, we've got day passes, or even if you're there for 3 days, you're passing through, then again, you can buy day passes. And we have our Instagram page with all of the different links as well. I forgot what this page is called when you have all the different connections, but I'm sure I can share that in the chat with you all afterwards. But that's a little bit about us, about what we're up to. Yeah, happy to answer any questions people may have.
Thank you so much, Jacqui. That's very comprehensive. It's a fabulous presentation that you have provided there. And I would like to throw to our audience to say, are there any questions that you have for Jacqui about World Stage Design 2025, about going to Sharjah, about how to become involved at this stage, or even questions about what's happening in the Middle East at the moment and its impact on World Stage Design? I think Tessa said perhaps use the raising hand function so we can see you. They always allow a little bit of time here because if you're like me, you can't remember how to raise your hand.
And Imogen, if you want as well, I can keep an eye on the chat if you want to ask Jacqui one of your questions, and I can let you know if anyone's added anything in there.
Thank you. Thanks, Tessa. Well, look, I might just ask the burning question. We touched on this before the meeting, Jacqui, but I think a burning question in Australians' minds, not being so familiar with the region, is will any of the world politics happening at the moment impact on World Stage Design happening in October?
Thanks, Imogen. I think that's a completely natural question to ask when we look at the news and what's happening. I can understand as well that there's a lot of information out there, and how do we navigate and know what to read or what to not read or believe or know what's true. I think I can safely say that whilst we can see what's happening more recently in those areas next to Iran and Israel, safety in the UAE is absolutely paramount. And at no point, and I say this with a family here as well, there is no danger to people in the UAE in terms of politically how the UAE are positioned. That being said, we have no control over what happens externally, and that might affect travel plans for people. I think that's wise to acknowledge. Okay, if I was saying to Imogen and Tessa before we joined, the one reassurance I have professionally and as an individual living there is that whatever happens, we will receive communication in terms of how it affects people's safety for an event like this. As I said, the event is the Vice President of the Academy is His Highness Sheikh Kazemi, and government communication comes straight to us. And as an organisation and an event, we have a clear strategy and policy about what to do in terms of communication, not just for this instance, but anything else that may happen as well. And I hate to say it, but let's liken it to COVID when that happened. And certainly I was living and working in Sharjah when COVID started to affect the world. I was very relieved to be in the UAE and how it was dealt with, and how the comms around that and how everything was communicated in terms of speed and efficiency in communication and strategy of how to deal with it. So if there was any immediate threat to people visiting the country, we would hear about that really quickly in terms of not having the event or postponing the event or whatever it may be. And then we have a strategy in place of how to deliver that to all participants, attendees, etc. So at the moment, we are absolutely confidently planning for the event to happen in October. I feel like if anything were to change, we would get that information to you really quickly. But there's a huge challenge around terminology when we say that the Middle East problem, because it's like the Middle East as other parts of the world, are large areas, and it is affecting certain parts of the Middle East. But within the UAE, at the moment, it's completely safe to live, work, be there. I hope that helps to answer.
Thank you. And I know, I totally realize, Jacqui, that it's very hard for you to answer completely because this is a changing situation. But I think from everything you've said, Sharjah seems like a wonderful place and a safe place to go at times like this. Now, I noticed that Andrew has raised his hand. Welcome, Andrew. Do you have a question or an answer?
I'm not sure I have I do have a question, but I just want to say that I have been to Sharjah on a number of occasions. I have been lucky enough to go to the Performing Arts Academy, which is the most beautiful building you'll have ever seen. And just to say, as a Westerner, I felt really safe in Sharjah. It is a really safe country, albeit that it's a Muslim country and it's a different background to culturally what we might be used to from us in Australia, and of course previously for me in the UK. So just to give that reassurance that it is a wonderful thing to do. And you're right, Jacqui, everybody thinks that nobody knows where Sharjah is, we think, and then we discover it's next door to Dubai. That journey from Dubai to Sharjah is really easy, because I didn't know how to do that the first time I went. It was really easy. You don't actually even know you're moving from one emirate into the other. So, that's a fact. I did want to ask Jacqui, can you give us a feel for the participants that are coming and from whereabouts in the world, given that it's a world design a conference event, just to give us that sense of it.
Absolutely, happy to. I'm just going to really quickly open up a Padlet we have, which shows the demographics of participants for World Stage Design, whether that's as an exhibitor, whether that's a ScenoFest participant, whether that's someone from the theatre architecture competition. I'm just going to really quickly share my screen. Hopefully now you should see that. So there we go. We can see Australia down there. We want to grow that number. So at the moment from there, we have some exhibition participation and some ScenoFest participation. We have all the way across really. Europe, we can see OISTAT as an organization has a huge legacy in Taiwan. I think that's definitely a success story we can see from the 2017 edition. So we have great involvement and interest from those parts of the world. And then also, I've cut off North America. Let me just see if I can move this around. Oh, sorry, Anyway, we've got great involvement as well from Canada, also from different states in America. What I'm hoping as well is that part of the legacy of WSD 25 will be a grown involvement and legacy from the MENA region, from GCC. So, which has definitely grown. And part of our work has been around how we engage local engagement in terms of the wider MENA region. And then I'm hoping to see that follow on in future editions as well. But that's a little bit of the scope of where people are coming from to attend and engage.
Thanks, Jacqui.
No problem.
And I'll just add to that, and I'm just jumping in. Tessa was going to say it, but this is the right moment to say it. ScenoLab is hosting a few more webinars before World Stage Design. We're hoping to do them on a monthly basis. And the next webinar in July will be with some of the directors and designers who are taking their work to ScenoFest. So we're sort of going from the big picture here with Jacqui, and we'll hone in on what's leaving our region over to the Middle East, North Africa region, sort of to represent what we're doing there. Now, I'm so sad, but we have actually come to sort of the closing 5 minutes of our meeting, Jacqui. So what I might do is just check if there's anyone else with a question for Jacqui. Maybe pop that in the chat, if that's all right. And I'll just throw to Tessa now, who just had a couple more things to share and a question for Jacqui, and to thank you so much for participating in this very fast and dirty introduction to world stage design.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Jacqui, and thank you, Imogen, as well for organising today's session. Jacqui, perhaps as a final question to ask on for people in the space who are thinking about, you know, what is involved with a country or a region hosting a world stage design, you know, in going into the future, what would you, from your experience, suggest for those who are thinking about possibly sort of dipping a toe into that water in the future?
Time. Because we applied to host this in 2020, and that was a long process, quite rightly. And then it was great support with not only the head office and Abby, who's the president of OISTAT, but also from previous WSC organisers. So April, who organised Calgary, and Sammy, who organised Taipei, have been hugely supportive in helping us to shape what World Stage Design 25 is like. And they always say, you know, this needs to start here in order for it to happen by here. And you always hear that and think, yeah, we'll do that. But actually, it's so true. So we opened submissions for the exhibition, for example. It'll be 18 months before the event. And in order for it to be, for us, the best world stage it can be, it has many voices. OISTAT as an organisation with many members, and the beauty and the complexities that come with a global organisation and event. There are many intersections, and it's how we make sure we hear all of those different voices, and how we can build them into and shape the event. And that's why the mission is so important for us, because it helps keep a frame. So it's time. It's about not being afraid to make it really reflective and representative of where you are, because I think that's what certainly from the feedback we're getting so far is people are coming because they want to know what performance design is like, not only from the rest of the global community, but what it's like in the UAE. So I think it's the confidence to make it what you want it to be.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So by way of wrap up, Jacqui, is there any sort of last words or anything else that you sort of feel like you really want us to know about World Stage Design 2025?
I just would love people to come and engage. Like the event is only going to be the people who attend it. So I think where else do we get the opportunity to engage with other like-minded practitioners? Because quite often as theatre makers, we do it in our own track, okay, and don't we do it in our own team, and we know of the colleagues that do other shows or performances, but we don't often get to have those conversations with them. So this is the place where you can have those conversations. So I'm looking forward to hopefully having those with many of you in October.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Jacqui. And everybody, if you have any other questions about World Stage Design, I've shared some links to the page and the registration page in the chat there. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming along today. And just to spruik again, next month, we hope to we'll come back to you with more information about that session about artists and designers and theatre makers in our region that are going over to be involved in World Stage Design, which we're really excited to sort of celebrate. And so we'll come back to you with that more there. But for today, Jacqui, thank you so much for waking up really early where you are and jumping on and joining us. And thank you everyone who came along. The recording of today will be made available on our ScenoLab website probably by next week. And so if you have any colleagues or students or peers that you think will be interested in this, please do share that link once I send it out to you. Other than that, thank you, Jacqui. Thank you, Imogen. Thank you, everybody here. And I will call that session to a close for today. Thank you so much.